Joe, well, this book is controversial. This book may be taken off Iowa school shelves. This book is gay. That's the title of the book behind bomb threats at an Iowa City school earlier this year and the target of conservative parents groups nationwide.
Sioux City schools removed this book this year, but Iowa City schools voted to keep it. KCRG TV9's Adam Karras spoke with one person behind that decision and a teenager who read the book to understand why it's so controversial.
It's an example of a book that would be banned from Iowa schools under Governor Reynolds' new education bill. Sioux City School Administration removed it this spring, saying the contents posed a, quote, safety concern for students. After bomb threats at Northwest Junior High linked to the book, Iowa City put it through a review committee. That committee of students, teachers, and community members voted it should stay in schools.
I read that book when I was in middle school.
Sid High said This Book is Gay was a resource for him as he discovered his identity as a transgender man.
For me, it was a good resource to be able to have resources and to understand what being queer really was. And to be like, oh, okay, I understand this. This is me. But I was also really nervous.
That's why the author, a transgender woman, jokingly calls it an instruction manual for LGBTQ teens.
It really is aimed at youngish teenagers.
Susan Craig, a retired Iowa City librarian, chaired the committee that reviewed the book for Iowa City schools. She says much of it reads like a textbook on LGBTQ.
It interjects a few jokey kinds of side comments and things like that, but it's basically facts. There's biology there, there's history, so a lot of information.
The majority of the book covers basic questions teens in the LGBTQ spectrum might have. What is gender and sexuality? The biology behind it, dealing with hate, and the fear of coming out. But chapters 8 and 9 garner most of the outrage. Chapter 8, Where to Meet People Like You, includes a guide to sex apps and gay bars to meet intimate partners, but also warns of the dangers of online dating and hookup apps. Chapter 9, The Ins and Outs of Gay Sex, even comes with a graphic warning from the author. It includes graphic details of pleasure zones and descriptions of sex acts and how to perform them. Critics, mostly conservative and religious groups, call it pornographic and inappropriate for teens. But a CDC study found about 1 in 4 kids had sex by the time they turned 16. And Craig says that makes a book like this age-appropriate in her mind.
If a child comes to a parent and says, you know, I wonder about these things. I have a friend who just told me they were gay. I don't know what that means. What is a transsexual? This is a book that as a parent, I would have given to my teenagers.
Craig and High both liken it to standard sex education already taught in schools, which is mostly geared towards straight sex.
It's similar to how straight people, they'll learn in a class how sex works for straight people. So, and they don't teach that in a class for gay people, so how would they learn?
Iowa City Schools' curriculum for middle school sex ed includes discussions of dating, sexual peer pressure, and descriptions of different sex acts, much like what This Book is Gay covers. High and Craig say having a book available to answer questions teens have about sex is better than the alternative, sending teens online.
Young people have very good access to the internet, and I fear that's where they will turn. And there are bad people on the internet, and there is a lot of misinformation on the internet.
People looking at porn or something, it's better than that. You're reading educational text to be like, this is how this works, so you understand it.
Craig says she could see schools setting some limits on who has access to the book, like making it part of a class curriculum or only available with a counselor's supervision. High says supervision is helpful, but says there's value in having it accessible in a library.
Because sadly, not a lot of queer kids, especially if you're in the closet, you're not going to want to go to your parents.
As a lifelong librarian, Craig says the push to ban books like this are really about taking that choice away from parents who do want these books available for their kids.
If it's not right for your child, then your child shouldn't read it. But other children may need it.
If it makes you uncomfortable, that's your decision. You don't have to have your kids read that book if you do not want to.
High acknowledges parents are justified to feel uncomfortable, but worries banning books like this takes away help for teens who need it.
When you're a parent, regardless on if it's straight or gay, you don't want your kids to be reading about anything sexual at all. But also, if you're in the closet and you don't know how this works and you don't want to ask your parents because you don't know how they feel, you aren't going to have that resource.
Now, we found this book at Cedar Rapids, Dubuque, and Iowa City public libraries. The Iowa City School District's review committee that looked at this book as gay included 2 students. Craig told me their insight was extremely valuable as they shared that middle school students are talking about sex already. So having a book on it is not exposing them to anything new, just answering questions they already have. Governor Reynolds' education bill, however, would ban students from serving on those review committees. It also bans any book describing or showing sex acts. That obviously includes This Book is Gay and may threaten classics like Romeo and Juliet or Gone with the Wind. That ban is set to take effect January 1st. Adam Karras, KCRG TV 9 News.
We reached out to the governor's office on this matter. A spokesperson responded saying, quote, parents can choose to provide their children with any book they believe is appropriate for them, but not all books are appropriate for school libraries.